DAversa.
Hi, my name is Jimmy. I'm the producer for Strategies for Living, and I was calling to patch you in the system for tonight's show.
Very good, thank you.
No problem. We'll have a short opening spot, after which there'll be a short break, and then we'll bring you on for about 45 minutes. You should hear everything just like you're listening to the radio.
Okay, very good.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Mr. DAversa,
Yes.
would you pronounce your first name for me again?
Yes, Oreste.
Oreste?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Opinions and claims do not necessarily represent those of Counselor Media, its employees, or advertisers.
Are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I am always ready.
Yeah, you stay ready. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. He is Jimmy Bryant, Ph.D., he tells me, producing, hosting, and directing.
That's right.
And, I know we're still right in the middle of it, right, this pandemic thing. But, and I also know, Jimmy, that it's wrecked a lot of havoc. I mean, is there an area that we can look at that, the pandemic hasn't affected? I mean, whether we're talking about the economy, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about our mental health, our careers,
completely far-reaching, absolutely.
And no doubt, I mean, families have lost loved ones, and businesses and careers have been forced to make choices. I mean, even businesses have been forced to make choices, sometimes to close. Mm-hmm. Tough choices. Mm-hmm. People in careers have had to make choices. So we've had to make choices where we've never expected. And granted, we're still somewhere in it. I hope we're past the middle of it, but who knows? But it's not too early to begin to think of life beyond the pandemic. And that's what we're going to do this evening here on Strategy. Our life strategist has written a book by that title, Life Beyond the Pandemic, a practical new journey handbook.
Okay.
Yeah. He is Oreste DAversa, and we're going to visit with him tonight. He is going to be our life strategist, and I think we've got a lot to learn. I think I think he's going to open our minds to some things and to consider that maybe we haven't considered before.
Yeah, I get the feeling that he's thought of some things.
Yeah. So that's what's on tap tonight, folks, here on Strategies for Living, presented by LSU Shreveport, where you can stay close and travel far. We're also brought to you by Bayou Deli and Casserole Shop, 637 East Kings Highway in Shreveport, by Azalea Cleaners, by Float Shreveport, by Pintail Roofing, by the Wedding Chapel at Bellevue Place, by Learning RX, by Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and by The Joint Chiropractic, Shreveport, Bossier City. Oreste DAversa, our life strategist. We're going to talk about life beyond the pandemic this evening here on Strategies for Living. Come back and join us. And welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmy Bryant, David McMillian. Let's welcome into the program now Oreste DAversa. He's a business coach. He's a consultant, corporate trainer, university lecturer, author, public speaker, spiritual coach and advisor, also an interfaith, all faiths minister, ordained by the New Seminary in New York City, helping people by offering spiritual guidance and helping find their true life purpose and living their true spiritual path. And I've mentioned earlier, he is the author of, I think it's going to be an important book, Life Beyond the Pandemic, and aren't we ready for that? Oreste DAversa, welcome to Strategies for Living, Mr. DAversa. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as a guest on your show. I'm very honored.
So, Oreste, what started all of this? What was the kickoff point? Because I'm looking at and holding the book right now in my hands. I'll hold it up to the radio so people can see it. But it's a good book. Yeah, it's over 300 pages, and so what kicked this off? What kicked off this project?
Well, the catalyst was in the beginning of the pandemic. I started hearing people losing their livelihoods in large numbers. People who had small businesses were losing their businesses. People who had jobs were losing their jobs, and companies were closing down. And I knew that just wasn't a good thing, and that also, as a interfaith, all-faith minister, I was concerned. Well, what are these people going to do for a livelihood? The reality of it is, the majority of people need, want, and desire to work. Now they're losing their livelihoods left and right. What are they going to do now?
Right. Now, you know a little something about, because you've got a pretty diverse career history yourself, don't you?
Yes, I personally spent 20 years in the technology industry. I've been running my own business for 20 years. Took care of my parents for 18 years, and I know the reality of losing everything. I lost everything financially, taking care of them. So I'm rebuilding my life. So I understand the reality of it is rebuilding one's life, and one needs a blueprint, a new life blueprint to start rebuilding from the ground up, so to speak.
So did you kind of start this with yourself? Is this your blueprint that then you refined, and here it is in this book, Life Beyond the Pandemic? Well,
through happenstance, both happened at the same time. I was wrapping up taking care of my parents and their affairs, and then within 2 years of that, the pandemic hit. So it kind of was a catalyst to put my life in order, rebuild my life, and at the same time help others.
Yeah. So what's the starting point? Where do we, where do you suggest that we begin? Is it kind of making a blueprint, making a game plan, or is there something to do before that?
Well, what I really put together for folks is the New Life Blueprint, but it's more of a roadmap. I think we need to start from the beginning and really take an inventory of our lives at various different levels. The first thing is really getting back to basics and taking a look at what we have. I personally believe we're all here for a reason and a purpose, so there's a place for us all. But once you're starting over, you really have to take an assessment of what you have and count your blessings at what you do have, and then start from there. Yeah, you kind of have to make a map, don't you? As a kid, I remember going to the theme park that we have close here, Six Flags Over Texas, over in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I remember seeing those. It was a big place for me as a kid, right? And they'd have those maps up all around the park. You are here. Yeah. So, if you wanted to get to Frontierland, I don't know, you needed to know you were in, ABC land. I don't know. Yeah. And it showed you a path. It's interesting, though, how many of us, for our own lives, if we ever started making maps, maybe, I don't know, Oreste, you weigh in on this. I'm going to say a very small percentage draw maps and redraw them, keep them current beyond, let's say, high school. Yeah, I agree with that. Most people don't have goals. What happens now with this whole situation with the pandemic, I think we're being forced to rethink things And I'd like to say that there's a new evolution in growth. There's a new evolution in the workplace. I'm not going to call it a revolution, but I'm going to call it an evolution. That we have to really take an assessment of ourselves, because the reality of it is, if we don't learn how to bang our own drums in a positive, productive manner, then no one's going to bang your drum for you.
Yeah, it makes me think of, and I'm not sure this is accurate, the Chinese, but it's all over the internet, that the Chinese characters for crisis. I'm sure we've all seen it. But it's supposedly made of two characters. One of the characters is danger. The first character you see is danger, but the second character you see is opportunity. So in any crisis, it depicts it as dangerous opportunity, danger plus opportunity. And it kind of sounds like that's what you're alluding to here with the pandemic.
Well, that's why I'm seeing it, because obviously when we're seeing the world in turmoil, specifically in the United States, where everyone losing their livelihoods, I think we're at a crossroads where we could come back double strong, and like building a house, and if you've lost your house, I think you can rebuild it better than it was before.
Right. Now, I want people to know that there's 7 parts of the book. And you start with the kind of the game plan, and I want to talk about some of these as we go on. But you talk about the spiritual, or our life force, the emotional, our heart, the mental, our mind, the physical, our body, and then putting it all together. And then you even provide some resources for us. So there's a lot here. There's a lot for us to unpack. And I'm ready to do that if you are.
Sure.
All right, Life Beyond the Pandemic. It is a practical new journey handbook. You can find it at Amazon, of course, where you buy books. And you can go to lifebeyondthepandemic.com. But stay here with us right now, because Oreste DAversa is our life strategist here on Strategies for Living, and we've got more to learn. Welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmy Bryant, David McMillian, our life strategist, Oreste DAversa. I read in the book that some people call you Rusty, but I'm not taking the easy way out. I'm hanging in. But if I slip and call you Rusty, I hope, since you said in the book, it's you put that in quotes. So
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go the hard path. All right, the book is Life Beyond the Pandemic, a practical new journey handbook. How long did this take you to write?
Well, it took me. Putting the book together took about 6 months, but it's accumulation of several years worth of work that I've done.
Yeah, it appears that.
It took a while. The book, there is some information from other books I've written, and I've tried to meld it together in a usable format. That's why I call it a handbook. I really wanted to be sitting on people's desk, that it gets door-geared and highlighted and used for...
Absolutely.
That's the kind of book I like to write, where it just doesn't become shelfware. It goes on the bookshelf and nobody looks at it.
Well, and that was another impressive thing to me as I looked at the book. I look at a lot of books and have for, we've been doing the program for 30 years, we're in our 30th year. So I've talked to a lot of authors. I look at a lot of books. And one of the things that jumped out at me right away with your book is that you included notes. You put pages, dedicated pages at key areas where people could make notes. I really appreciate that, Oreste.
Yeah, I think I really I really strive to give people practical knowledge that they can implement right away.
Right.
You know, and the reality of it, you know, these books, you know, it's nice to have a nice, clean, crisp book, but the reality of it is, you know, your thoughts come in when they come in relative to what you're reading at the time. You know, so you want to be able to just take a page, flip it over, highlight it, and say, okay, I need to do this action item, or this makes a lot of sense, or this is a to-do, or whatever. But most books aren't designed that way. They're just designed for you to read, and then
but you know, for all of us, books can be that knowledge, that wonderful knowledge base. They can open us up, open worlds to us, really. But then, you know, I remember a book that did that for me back in the 80s. It was written in the 70s. It was called The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck, Scott Peck. I don't know if you probably are familiar with that.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And but I wish I could show you gentlemen my copy. I still have my first copy of The Road Less Traveled, and it's literally like you just described, dog-eared, underlined, falling apart. You know, I have to put the pages back in it, and people ask me, well, why do you know, you've got other copies of it? Because I do. I generally keep used copies of it to give to clients routinely. It's one of those books that, you know, I recommend. But I keep it because it's meaningful to me.
Yeah, and it's a wrench. It's a tool.
Yeah, and that's what you're inviting us to do here in Life Beyond the Pandemic. With there's a wonderful knowledge base in here, but then we have to make it ours. We have to take it and make it personal, don't we?
Well, without question. I mean, these are the tools to get you where you need to go. But as the saying goes, it's an inside job. You really have to really use the tools. And I'm really big on the following concept: giving people practical, results-oriented information that they could do themselves and then see results as soon as possible. You know, being a minister, specifically an interfaith minister, which all that really means is I deal with all faiths. I've been trained in seminary in all the various religions and the various spiritual traditions. It's important that I feel to teach people how to fish. Because as the saying goes, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Absolutely, absolutely. What does it really mean to be human? Let's go there for a moment.
Well, I think the reality of it is we're all here for a reason. You know, I believe that we're here for a specific reason and purpose. So with that said, with that philosophy, I believe there's a place for everyone. And we really need to understand why we're here, appreciate what we have regarding the environment, regarding the earth, regarding, especially in this country where we have so many liberties and freedoms and tools and opportunities that many people, unfortunately, you know, really don't appreciate all that or understand it till it's gone.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I really like that you've done here. You break down the four components, the aspects, if you will, of being human, and we got to look at all four individually and then collectively, because and the four are the physical, the body,
right,
the mental, the mind, the emotional, of the heart, the emotional heart, and then the spiritual, the spirit, the life force that is within us. And that's the way you move forward in your game plan here, by helping us look at all four of those, right? They're all important.
Yeah, they're all, you know, in my opinion, they're all interdependent upon one another, and that's a fancy word just to say, look, if anything's out of balance, we get the classic dis-ease. You know, we all know people who are physically well but mentally ill. We know people who are physically well, mentally well, but they don't know they're emotionally ill, meaning they don't know how to love themselves, love other people, do the right thing. So if any of these components are out of balance, the person isn't right, one way or another.
Right. Do we need to where do we start? I mean, so some people will look at this and they say the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. Where do I start? Do I start in the spiritual? Do I start in the mental? Do I start in the physical?
Well, no, you start in the spiritual, because it's my belief that everything starts in spirit, meaning in the life force. And then from the life force, we bring it into our emotions. And once we accept something and we say we're going to do something, we're excited about something, we're happy, then it goes into the mind, into the how-to of how we're going to do the thing that we're excited about. And then finally, it manifests in the physical. Okay, I'm excited about, I've meditated on my life purpose. What's come through my meditation is I'm excited to find out that I'm meant to be a healer or a teacher or a trainer. Then mentally you say, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm meant to be a healer, but what kind of healer? All right, well, maybe I should be a doctor or a chiropractor or a nurse. I mean, there's lots of different healing. And then what do I need to do to get there? Well, I may need to go to school, may need to take some classes, and then you actually manifest it in the physical.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the big questions right now. If you say, you've got to start in the spiritual, the big questions, and no matter what religion you pick to take a look at, I think most religions that I know of attempt to answer those big questions. Who am I? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And where am I going to?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the biggies, aren't they?
Correct. I agree.
And then then we can move to I call them the map questions. What do I want now?
Right.
When do I want it? Because I may want something, but I may not want it right now. I want eternal life, but hey, if you're listening, God, I'm not quite ready at the moment. What do you want? When do you want it? What, if anything, have you got to be willing to change to get what you want? And how will your life be different when you get what you want? And see, I think those are map questions we have to keep redrawing on.
Sure.
And I think your book, Oreste, I think it's an excellent tool for all 7 of those questions, the 3 big ones and the 4 map questions.
Without question, that's why I said it's an inside job, meaning people have to sit down and take stock of their lives and really do a lot of soul searchings, and the tools in the book help people soul search. As the saying goes, there's no atheists in foxholes. I think, people many times get confused with spirituality versus religion, and as the saying goes, a person could be religious but not spiritual, spiritual not religious, neither spiritual nor religious, or both religious and spiritual.
Yeah.
I think, I define spirituality as the animating force that keeps us moving, because obviously once we die, that force leaves us. As for the soul, my personal definition of the soul is our connection to the God, to the Creator directly.
Right. And again, it's important that we are willing to embrace all of this. Now it goes against the grain, I think, because we talk about this a lot here on Strategies, Oreste. We're in a time where we all want the pill, right?
Right. The quick fix.
Doc, get your prescription pad out. Just write me a script, and let me go get it filled, and let me get this fixed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the culture within which we here we've gone into 2020, now 21, and now we're in 22. But we all know the pandemic hit us like a ton of bricks early in 2020.
Right.
And so maybe we're at the beginning point of looking at, okay, well, maybe I don't need to go for the quote unquote magic fix. Maybe there's no such thing. Maybe I really need to go for my personal fix, which, I really think Life Beyond the Pandemic and this handbook, if you will, a practical new journey handbook, can help us with.
Yeah, I feel what's happened is we've accelerated in certain parts of society, but other parts of society have not kept up. You know, we're doing great things with technology. I mean, the internet is magic, basically. Think about it. We could talk to people now from around the world in seconds.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the other aspects of our society we have not kept up with spirituality, for instance. You know, have we gotten any better on helping people, the homeless people, people with mental disease and things of that nature? So we've accelerated in some areas, and other areas have not kept up. And I think the pandemic is telling all of us to take a breath and really slow down and reassess. Some people are sitting harder, and they're forced to sit down and reassess their lives. Some people maybe not as hard, but the reality of it is, unfortunately, most people directly and or indirectly have lost individuals.
Yeah.
And that's giving people pause, because, you know, the reality of it is, luckily we're blessed with vaccinations and such, but we don't really know this thing. I mean, it's creeping up all over the place. It's showing up, you know. So I think we're at that point as a society and as part of humankind to really breathe and take a break and slow down a little bit and realize what's really important, who's important. Yeah, we all need, want, and desire money, but the reality of it is, if you don't have your health, you don't have your family, you don't have good friends, really, what's it all about?
Yeah.
Right, what are we doing?
What are we doing here? I mean, exactly.
Yeah. What am I doing and why am I doing it?
Right, right.
Yeah. And maybe that's, you know, maybe that's that's what's going to come out of, you know, us having experienced and moved through this. You know, what's the old saying? You get a bunch of lemons, make some lemonade.
Make some lemonade. Right. Yeah.
Maybe we can still make some lemonade out of this, and maybe books like Life Beyond the Pandemic will help us do that. Oreste DAversa, our life strategist this evening here on Strategies for Living. You can find him at lifebeyondthepandemic.com, but stay here with us because he's got more to teach us as Strategies for Living rolls on. Welcome back in to Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmy Bryant, David McMillian. Life Beyond the Pandemic, that is our life strategist book. He is Oreste DAversa, and there's a lot in here. But it's easy to understand. It's a logical. You can make for yourself a blueprint, and you know, but really, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, you can create a new and better reality, more prosperous reality right now. That sounds pretty good, Oreste.
Well, yeah, I think so. And prosperity means whatever you want it to mean. If it's money, if it's a better job, better livelihood, better family, better friends, better relationships. So, you know, money's all relative, but it's prosperity. I feel that, you know, it's like rebuilding a new house. You know, you lost your house, and now you're rebuilding a new one. Well, you want to build a house that's better than the old house was.
Yeah, right. Exactly. This may sound weird, but I'm going to share this. I do something every evening just right as I'm about to go to sleep. And I do it because it's important I think it's important to program my unconscious. And you can do that very easily late at night before you go to sleep or early in the morning when you first wake up, you know. Mm-hmm. And I say to myself, wealth, which I define not as an abundance of money, but and success. Again, I have my definition of success.
Sure.
Which is to hopefully help and touch people's lives in a positive way. My body heals itself and restores and repairs itself naturally. And then the last thing I say is prosperity, because what I just described in those first three, to me, is prosperity.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know. What are your thoughts about the conscious unconscious thing?
Well, I believe it. I prefer to use the word subconscious because when you say you're unconscious, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, my background also, I've got a background in hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and the concept is that the subconscious mind can be reprogrammed to change behavior. As long as you want to change that behavior. People say, oh, I wanted to quit smoking, I went to a hypnotist, they didn't help me. Well, if the truth is you really didn't want to quit smoking, the hypnotist isn't going to help you with that either,
Yeah, you've got to go in with the will.
Exactly, and he provides you, right, he provides you with the tools to teach you hypnosis, and all hypnosis is really self-hypnosis. The hypnotist, the hypnotherapist, or hypnotist...
It's really just a coach.
Exactly, because obviously, if that were the case, the world would be amok with people, zombieing other people to do bad things for them, or good. Right. So the reality of hypnosis is it's a tool, and it's been used for years. Unfortunately, many people don't like to use the word hypnosis, but it's just a tool, and the hypnotist is a coach to help yourself change an unwanted behavior. But I think what you're doing is great, and I think more people should do that, because what you're doing is you're giving your subconscious mind, which is working 24/7, something to do at night and something to do that's positive. We heal ourselves. So when we take medication, the medication helps the body heal, but the body's doing the work.
Absolutely.
You're giving the body a chance and giving the body tools to heal itself. I've seen miracles. For instance, as a interfaith minister, I've been part of healing circles where we've done work with spiritual healing, where we don't know where this energy comes from. Call it God, call it the universe, call it Jesus, whatever you believe in, and people have been healed through this energy. So something's going on in our bodies to help it heal itself.
Right, absolutely. Now, Oreste, the reality is there's a lot of people, probably some listening to us now, that are exhausted. They're overwhelmed. What do you say to them? How do because some people will hear what we're saying tonight and say, oh my gosh, I got to tackle this now.
Sure.
Everything I've been through. So what do you say? Because a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed and exhausted.
Well, I think they need to regroup, and in the spiritual section, I teach people meditation, and meditation doesn't have to be this outlandish woo-woo thing. It's just giving the body, mind, spirit, basically the four components, the ability to regroup and recharge and re-energize the body. I teach a very simple technique. It's on YouTube called the 1, 2, 3, 4 technique, because the American mind is always chattering. So you give it something to do, and it focuses on the task. And then very gradually, the body relaxes. But I think people need to, again, get back to basics. And the basics are breathe, meditate, regroup. Start with an assessment. Count your blessings. Reality. You look at your finances. What you can and can you not do. But the reality of it is, it's a transformation. This isn't a quick fix. This isn't an overnight situation. It's a transformation from where you are now to where you want to go. And how long does this transformation take? Well, it's up to you.
How do we know? How will someone know they're progressing? How will someone know I'm making progress here?
Well, the way I've designed the book, at the end of all, if not most chapters, there's exercises to do, and these exercises help you check your progress as to what you're doing, and you get little mini milestones, to get to this transformation that I'm talking about.
Yeah. So again, the book is called Life Beyond the Pandemic. This is actually your 7th book, right?
Yeah, I've written quite a few books over the years, well, predominantly nonfiction. I've written books on life purpose. I've written business books on resumes, sales books, and things of that nature. As time is going by, I see the greater need for books relative to spirituality. But I've also seen the need, especially with this book, the reality to combine both spirituality and practicality. The reality of it is, yes, we all want to be rich, we all want to be, prosperous. But the truth of the matter is, if you're not happy on the inside, you're not going to be happy on the outside. And one of the components here we haven't chatted on yet is people have to get rid of their emotional baggage. Because that emotional baggage weighs very heavy. And in part 3, the emotional part, people need to take a look at what are they carrying and why are they carrying it, and they need to unpack it and leave it behind. And that's tough. It's tough to do the work, but it's not impossible.
To do the work. It's not impossible, and it's really not. The methods are easy to understand. The implementation in our lives are what's hard.
I agree. That's a tough part. Let's face it. I'm 62, going on 63 this year. We all know what to eat, don't we? We all know what's good. We all know what's not good. I love Cajun food, and I love the food that's down south. In moderation, it's great. Eating it every day, not so much,
Exactly.
Like I say, even though I'm a northerner here up in New Jersey, I've always enjoyed that type of food. But the reality of it is, at this age, if I eat it the way I used to eat it in my 20s, I'm going to have a short life. So we all know what to do, and that's why I encourage people, start with minor milestones. As the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time.
A bite at a time.
If you're a vegetarian, how do you eat a palm tree? A bite at a time. And slow and steady does win the race. It took you a bit to get in this situation. It's going to take you a bit to get out of it. But if you see progress, a little bit at a time, you'll get to your goal. And the opportunities that we have in the United States are tremendous. I'm not going to say it's easy. Okay, but the opportunities that are here in the United States in traditional industries and now the internet, it's just amazing.
No place else in the world.
I agree, and the freedoms we have that go with it. Whatever you want to do, you can do. All right. And again, I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight. But if you have the fortitude, the tools, the stick-to-itiveness, you'll get where you need to go.
Life Beyond the Pandemic. You can visit Oreste DAversa at lifebeyondthepandemic.com. You can click to buy the book there. You can go to Amazon.com or link through the website, lifebeyondthepandemic.com. It's a practical new journey handbook. We'll be back with Oreste DAversa here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmy Bryant, David McMillian with our life strategist today. He's been a good one, Oreste DAversa. And Oreste, thank you. I hope people will continue the conversation with you. And I don't have to give out your phone number for that. People need to get the book because they'll be in conversation with you very much. Through this book, you're on every page, and you're a good coach. So, thank you for the work that you've done with this book. I know this is your 7th book, but you've packed a lot into this. That's obvious. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. That's what we're here for. We're all here to make a difference in other people's lives, help out those folks who need help. And, I'm big on the concept of give people a helping hand up, not a handout, a helping hand out. Give people the tools to help themselves, and they will help themselves.
And I want people to clearly understand. It's easy. There's everything in here is It's proven. It's easy to understand. It's a result-oriented tools, techniques, methods. You've got a lot in here that will, once you work with it and stand back, there's a life blueprint here. So thank you very much. Jimmy, you've done it again, so thank you. And folks, go visit Oreste DAversa by getting this book, Life Beyond the Pandemic. You can find it. You can find him hanging out at lifebeyondthepandemic.com or go to Amazon. We appreciate you tuning in to Strategies for Living, presented, of course, by LSU Shreveport, where you can stay close and travel far. And we're also proud to be brought to you by Bayou Deli and Casserole Shop, 637 East Kings Highway in Shreveport, by our friends at Azalea Cleaners, by Float Shreveport, by Pintail Roofing, by the Wedding Chapel at Bellevue Place, by Learning RX, by Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and by the Joint Chiropractic, Shreveport, Bossier City. If today were the last day of your life, you only have one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting?
Mr. DAversa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you all having me on as a guest. Thank Dan as well.
You have a wonderful day, and thank you.
Thank you, David, I should say. You too. Thanks again. Bye-bye.